Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to you.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of our channel, or on our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have not subscribed, please do so below or comment to us. Tell us what you liked about our episodes or what you would like to see in the future. We'd love to hear from you. So today's episode, we're going to talk about Bridgerton episodes 7 and 8. So we'll start with episode 7, and it's called Oceans Apart. It's I like the way this one starts. I kind of had to laugh because the way this one starts is Daphne and Simon are kind of at odds, obviously, because of how we left it at the end of the last episode. And they're kind of I felt like they were kind of trying to outdo each other with the amount of noise and just trying to irritate the other one. Because you got Daphne doing the piano and doing a crazy tune on the piano. And then you've got Simon kind of shooting. And they're kind of like, they're trying to make the other one mad.
Daphne goes home because she thinks her presence will help Colin's situation.
And she lays into her mother about not preparing her for marriage duties and not explaining to her what all went on and that kind of thing. I'm like, she lays into her.
Well, good. She should. She did her a disservice. I keep saying that. It's awful what she did.
Well, and then Daphne kind of becomes the mom to Colin in a way, because she goes in and talks to him and says, I really don't think you should see her, but if you want, I will chaperone it so you can talk to her, because I think she knows unrequited love, or what, not unrequited, but just the feeling that he's probably feeling, wanting her to be his or whatever. So I think she kind of gets Colin at this point.
Yeah.
And then we see Simon kicking Will's butt in the boxing ring, or attempting to. I did write that. Well, I said Simon and Daphne get back together, and then they do it. And after she accuses him of being disloyal, and he's like, you wound me that we've been married 3 weeks and you already think I'm disloyal, like already after only 3 weeks. Like, he's like, you wound me.
Right.
And yeah.
I know. It's so heart-wrenching to see them go back and forth right now. I can't stand it.
Oh, and yeah. Well, and she's like, do you want to take this back to the bedroom and finish what we started? And that's when he says he will not darken her doorstep again.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll take care of you if you have, like, because their thing right now is he's waiting to see if she is in fact pregnant. So they're waiting to see if her courses come, essentially. And he told her, he's like, if you're with child, he's like, I'll take care of you and the child. He's like, if not, we'll be married in name only.
Right. It's not just about intimacy for them, for her. It's, he won't let her in. He won't open up to her. Like, she just wants, he said, we're friends, and he won't even let her be a friend. She wants to listen to what has caused him to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to investigate on her own.
Yeah, she does. And I mean, surprisingly, with all the investigating that she's done, he doesn't get as mad with her as what you would think he would when someone's prying into your private, personal stuff. Well, and they have such pressure too, because they go to the Queen, or they were at an event with her, and she says, when are you going to have a baby?
Right.
And Simon blatantly says, oh, we're doing everything we're basically we're practicing heavily for that, essentially. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, really? Like, because Daphne I forget what she says to him in response, but she says something that kind of was like, oh, really? Are we now?
Well, the Featheringtons get shunned at this party that we're talking about. Well, and Daphne kind of sticks up for him in a way.
I think Eloise, because the Queen requests an audience with Eloise and to see what she has on Lady Whistledown, like the identity.
Right.
And I think this is when the Queen then hires her own people to try to identify her. And again, Lady Featherington comes back to Mr. Featherington, or Lord Featherington, and scolds him for how they were treated at the luncheon.
His future is looking grim. Well, he goes to Simon's friend and asks him to cheat at the boxing match.
Yep. Well, and Daphne visits Marina, and Marina kind of divulges to her about George, Sir George, and Daphne has been invited by Lady Danbury to go with the women of the Ton to have like a little soiree or whatever at Lady Danbury's. And so she goes there and she meets one of the captains or wives, one of the general, is it captain or general wives? And she tries to get in touch that way, or she gets the information to contact him, them, to see where they can find what they can find out about Sir George. So then they go on ignoring each other and walking the halls and walking past each other, but not really saying anything to each other. Well, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, eventually you talk it out or you do what you need to do. I think it's probably, in some situations, it's good to walk away and not say anything because you'll say it in anger or you'll say things that in the heat of the moment that you don't mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Simon is kind of being that way because he doesn't want to say stuff that he knows he doesn't really mean because I feel like they've done plenty of that. But yeah, they're still waiting to see if Daphne is pregnant. And that's a heartbreaking scene, too. I don't know. That one gets me every time I watch that scene. Like, just because you can tell, like, you can hear Daphne. They're at the show. So they're at the concert. Anthony keeps seeing Sienna. Daphne's sitting beside Simon. And you see her look at him, and he kind of looks back like, what's going on? And then she leaves, and then you can hear her just wailing in the background. Well, basically, I mean, she's crying, and her mom goes in, and then you see Simon, and he's kind of tearing up a little bit, and he knows what it is. So I feel like right then, I feel like he really does want kids with her. It's just the fact that he's refusing because of his dad in the long run. It's crazy.
He cannot let that go. Man, 8 episodes. Finally, on the 8th episode, he lets it go. Well, we even see a scene where she, like, rubs her belly. Like, holds her because she is really hoping that she's pregnant.
She is, and you can tell and she keeps checking the bed, obviously, too. And Simon's caught her doing that, and then Simon caught her with the belly thing, too.
Part of it, too, is, like, he's already said, like, either way, pregnant or not, we're done. At least intimacy-wise. And so she probably figures, well, at least if I'm pregnant, I have somebody to love. I have somebody, that's probably another thing, too, that she's dealing with.
Because Eloise has kind of figured out, or who she thinks it is. She thinks it's Lady Delacroix.
Yes.
Or Madame Delacroix. Well, and this is the episode where Penn goes to find Marina, and Marina is unconscious, she finds her unconscious or whatever from the tea that she has drank.
Yes, you got one girl who doesn't want, man, times don't change. You got one girl who doesn't want her baby, and you got one girl that does. And they get the opposite of what they want.
Yep. At least in this episode right now, yes. I mean, I kind of feel for Anthony in this episode, too, because he does. He goes back to Sienna, and he goes to her house, and he wants her. She's just not having it, which I don't blame her. So episode 8, After the Rain. So this episode, I don't know, it's kind of weird at the beginning because they're being drawn or painted by Mr. Granville or by Lord Granville. He's kind of telling them, he's like, well, you could smile. He's like, you could look, he's like, you could touch her, like, act like you semi-like each other. And so he was like, they look at each other and they're like, oh, what's he say? He says that's devotion or something like that. Well, and this is where, Daphne invites the Featheringtons to the ball because they're still kind of shunned right now after the whole Miss Thompson scandal. Mm-hmm. So she does give them a personal invitation to come to their ball. This is the first ball that her and Simon are holding.
Right. And it's an important one because it's the close of the season. It shows that Daphne, like her growing up, like she realized like she's not perfect. I mean, look what she did to Simon. And so she's like, I'm not perfect. Why would I judge somebody? Yeah. That's done far less than I. But that kind of puts the Featheringtons back in good graces.
Well, and then the Featherington, man, they have so much going on because even in this episode, Philip Crane, Sir George's brother, shows up to give news on Sir George. He had, in fact, been writing to Marina, but he had passed away in battle weeks ago, or, weeks.
And
yeah. And so she finds that out, and that he really did love her and did want the baby. And he proposes eventually in this episode to her, and she turns him down at first. So she thinks that he has succeeded. She hasn't felt the baby or anything like that, and she figures that she would have by now had it succeed or had it not succeeded. Well, when Eloise tries to warn Madame Delacroix, careful that the queen is basically gunning for her.
Yeah.
Before hours, whatever. And I like how Benedict says, lock the door. Simon tells Daphne she would be better off without him. Which, I mean, just the things he says, like that, because you would think he's such a confident guy, but at the same time, when it comes to Daphne, it's like he thinks he's worthless.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of self-hate there.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, for the most part, when he's around some people, he's very confident and he has his stuff together. But then when it's around her, it's like he doesn't think he's worthy.
Well, it's just there's a lot of damage there. The one person in his life that should have loved him and shown love was his father. Of all people, your father should love you. And so, yeah, I mean, he doesn't feel like he's worthy of anybody's love.
Mom and Daphne, she gets even more insight because she finds the letters that he has written to his dad, trying to tell him how far he's come. And the dad, I mean, we saw that in earlier episodes where he finally, he came home to the dad and was talking to him, even with, without the impediment and everything. And the dad was still like, you were such a failure. You were my greatest failure. And I mean, how would you, like, as a kid, and yeah, now finding these letters, I think she really sees why Simon now, because she sees why he feels that way about himself, and that he's not deserving of love because he's not perfect. And in his father's eyes, if you weren't perfect, you weren't loved. We see that Will loses the match to the Beast. That's who he's against. Yep.
Well, he wouldn't have.
No, he wouldn't have. He totally had him, or should have had him, but. Well, I think another cool scene is when Daphne and Simon go to the Bridgerton house to meet to see Francesca, because she's returning from her travels. Just the way he is with Hyacinth and Gregory. I thought it was sad too when Penn was trying to tell Colin that she loved him and he was telling her that he was leaving.
She's upset at the end of the show. It's not because her dad died.
Yeah, because that does happen. Mr. Featherington gets killed by the men he makes, or he gets killed by the men that he talks to at the match. That he's done something. I mean, he bet wrong, or he didn't bet wrong, but he was doing things with men he shouldn't have been doing things with.
Yeah,
and that came back to bite him.
Yeah, they kind of figured that he had played them.
He had thrown a match. Yeah, he played. Yep.
And so it makes me worry for Simon's friend. I worry for him.
Oh, see, I never thought of that.
Yeah. Well, when he's at the ball, he's at that ball, Simon and Daphne's ball, he's there, and he, his wife has a nice necklace on.
I did catch that, because Simon gives him a long glance, and Simon sees her playing with it.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing I can think of, if they don't kill him, the only other thing that they probably would do to him is, okay, well, you screwed us over, so now we're going to use you, and you're going to start throwing matches for us. So I think he's going to get himself. He's put himself in a situation he's going to have a hard time getting out of. And I'd like to see.
He thought of that before he told him that he would do it. Like, I mean, because he was always saying, because he told Simon, I'm doing this for my family.
Well, and at the very, very end, Mrs. Featherington has somebody run up to her and they say, "Oh, we figured out who the heir to the line to the family is." So I'm hoping next season we get to see, because I'm thinking it's got to be like some crazy cousin.
And this was kind of an the hard scene too, because Marina asks Lady Featherington after Mr. Featherington has passed and she's looking in the bedroom. And Marina walks up behind her and asks how she has managed. Well, she says 22 years of marrying someone and being with someone and not really loving them. She says, well, you learn to love things about, like, first it's, small things, then you get kids and you love them. And she does end up accepting Philip's proposal for the baby's sake, I'm pretty sure. Well, because we find out Marina did not, in fact, have a miscarriage. Mm-mm. Or she didn't lose the baby. Yeah, so she, in fact, is still pregnant.
Yeah, and the last time we see her, she's getting in the carriage with him.
And I thought it was interesting how they asked what Anthony was going to be up to, and he says, ready to find and declare his intentions for a lady. And they kind of look at him like, oh, what's this? Like, you're ready to do that. So that sets us up for, I think, obviously the next season, because that's going to be his big season, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they said that it'll more than likely be about him. I'm sure it's Bridgerton, so I'm sure we'll get to see what happens with all the Bridgerton kids, but it'll be more focused on Anthony rather than Daphne like it was.
Well, and we know, spoiler alert, but we've seen where they've already cast his love interest for season 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, we already know that's been posted around, that they have cast somebody for it. Well, and I love the ending scene. I don't know, this actually might be my favorite scene of this, when Daphne has the baby and Daphne says, well, now we need to name him because it's a boy. And Simon says, well, it has, whatever the name is, it has to start with an A. We have our traditions, do we not? Yeah. And the mom was like, and I thought that was such a cool thing. And like when she asked him if he wanted to hold him.
I think in the book, her first is a girl. I don't think she has a boy first in the books. According to Julia Quinn's website, the Bridgerton family tree shows that Simon and Daphne have 5 children. Amelia is the first one, and then she had a girl.
And I like how they do the bumblebee at the end, too. On the windowsill?
Yeah. Yeah, because the bumblebee is significant. And I guess it's because in the books, from my understanding, in the books, the Bridgerton's dad, the kid's dad, dies from bee attack. Anthony, which they haven't said any of this at all in the show yet, but I guess, and maybe next season they will, since it'll be more centered on Anthony, but Anthony's terrified of them because of that. All right, that was Bridgerton, season 1, episode 7, Oceans Apart, and episode 8, After the Rain. And that is the end of the season. Do y'all enjoy this series? We do. We're enjoying it. We can't wait for season 2. We're always keeping an eye out for new information about it. But let us know in the comments if there's a current show that you would like us to cover. We can possibly try to do that, so let us know. Mm-hmm. And we'll look into it, because we're also working on Saved by the Bell too, which is an older show. But let us know if you want one of those too. We can do an older one. All right, so until next time, I'm Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelly. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.